Hello, hello, it's Maria. I'm a reporter here with WDW Magazine, here to take you on another magical escape. I am coming to you today from the 2023 Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic. The event is currently in its 15th year. There are over 85 different alcoholic beverages here and plenty of food stations to try. So without further ado, I am going to get started on tasting my way through the 2023 Food and Wine Classic. There are over 85 different beverage locations and over a dozen food stops with over 3 dozen different types of foods. Here is a look at this year's event map. It is massive. It spans the entirety of the promenade and should be a really great and tasty evening. I love the atmosphere here at the Food and Wine Classic. It takes place on the promenade behind me. As you can see, the Dolphin is right behind me, and that promenade connects the Swan and the Dolphin. They have all of the food and the drink locations set up along the promenade. So because there are so many different food and drink offerings, we decided to grab a bunch of food, stake out a table, and do kind of batch reviews at once. So we started off in the new Florida area. That is new to the Food and Wine Classic this year. They've partnered with a lot of local breweries, cideries, and restaurants to capture the flavor of local Florida. Some of the things that we tried from there were this really interesting, it was labeled a Greek salad, but it was like a potato that was covered in this really creamy, delicious dressing with crispy lettuce, and it had some peppers in there, and I was just not expecting it to be a standout, and so far I really enjoyed that one. We also grabbed some things from Rosa Mexicano, including the Mexican mushroom taco, which honestly tasted almost like a pulled pork smokiness to me. It had that nice, obviously long marinated flavor to it, and the freshness of that really came through with the fresh avocado on top. And we also, of course, had to pick up some of their chips and guacamole at Rosa Mexicano. They're always a standout. It's no exception tonight. Nice and crispy chips, nice and fresh guacamole there. And we stopped at Kimonos to grab some of their sushi. They served 2 pieces of sushi on a platter here. They also had some fish draped across the top of them. And again, the theme being freshness here. You can tell that fish was freshly cut, and the accompaniments on the side, the wasabi and the soy sauce, were being poured fresh and cut fresh as well. So that is round 1 here of food here at the Food and Wine Classic. Long way to go. All of the food and drink locations are located in these tents down the entirety of the promenade, including the over 80 wine offerings they have. Here are wines from Oregon and California. They're Paul O'Brien and McPrice Myers Winery, and here's how it works. I will walk up here. I will tell them which one I would like to try. Hello.
Hi.
I would like to try the Cabernet, please. And they will pour it in my glass for me. Just like that.
Have a great night.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
That's it. That's how it works here at the Classic. I got this glass when I checked in, and I will take this glass with me around the event, and they will pour all of the different wine samples into this one glass. So A, I get to take it home, and it is a great way to cut down on getting individual glasses out. All right, just finished round 2 of my food offerings here at the Food and Wine Classic, and something that I want to mention is that each and every one of these food dishes, from their inception through to their completion here at the event, have been created in-house here at the Swan and Dolphin. It is something that all of the chefs, the pastry chefs, take great pride in this event every year. And I learned when I was invited to the media preview for this event that they start about 10 months in advance with the creation of these dishes. So a ton of thought and planning is put into everything that I've had here this evening, and you can tell. This second round of food, I had a bruschetta, which what I thought was served with a small burrata cheese, but when I cut into it, it turned out to be an egg. It was a semi-hard inside to the egg, but the center of that egg, the texture and consistency that provided to the focaccia and the bruschetta element there really surprised me, because it almost gave it a cheese-like consistency. So that was surprising and really tasty. We also had the quinoa dish, which was organic quinoa with broccoli and chicken. That was good too. That was a nice light option that we had here this evening. All right, we just got back from a little trip to Chinatown. I love that this event is separated into different sections. The Chinatown theming was great with the lanterns hanging overhead. I loved it. And the food we got there was surprising. I want to start with the bao bun. It was a pork belly bao bun. It had a glaze on it that made it almost unexpectedly sweet. We were not expecting it to have the sweetness that it did have to it. We also got the vegan dumpling, which was, again, unexpected. A nice crispy fry on the outside of that dumpling, which is the mark of a well-made dumpling. And my favorite from Chinatown, and one of my favorites of the night, has been the Shanghai noodles. They are a vegan, completely vegan option. They come with tofu and marinated mushrooms, and man, did this have a kick to it. They were actually cooking the little noodles fresh at the booth, which was really interesting twist. I like to see that being done live. And the spice on this was really unexpected, and it did not overpower the dish because I absolutely tasted the broth. The edamame was really well cooked, but it really just brought out a different flavor profile because nothing here so far this evening has been at all spicy. So that was a really unexpected and nice surprise. Beautiful night here on the promenade. Everyone's enjoying all the different food and drink offerings. Just such a great atmosphere here at the Food and Wine Classic. There are live bands playing. They've got these really awesome projections happening on the Dolphin. It's just a really fun place to walk around and eat and drink. Around the pool over here at the Swan is Carnival Corner. We've got carnival themed food and drink offerings as well as some really fun carnival games set up for a great cause. Super fun games here. We got a bucket toss and a roller bowler. With the donation to the Children's Miracle Network, you can play these games. She is absolutely killing it with this bucket toss here and win a can of beer in the back if you succeed. Little carnival style food truck serving up some food here, Italian beef. All right, we just grabbed some food from the Carnival Corner. Very all-American classic carnival theme in there. What I really loved were those games benefiting the Children's Miracle Network. Really, really fun way to add some friendly competition to the event here today. And the food was tasty. That braised beef that everyone was talking about from the preview event all the way through today with that 24-hour marinated beef on there. Very all-American, very classic, very approachable flavors there with that one. And those potatoes really surprised me. They blew me away. They did not skimp at all on the truffle oil on those, and that is not a cheap ingredient. They really went in with that. They were caked in spices and salt, which only elevated them even further. They were cooked really well, and they're one of my favorites so far, those potatoes.
Let's celebrate. I got a feeling I'm gonna be okay.
If you are a beer or cider or seltzer drinker, check this out. They have little boardwalks set up here on the banks of the Swan and Dolphin Beach where you can chill out, sit out here in the sand and enjoy beer and cider. This whole stretch here serves local beer, spirits, ciders, and seltzers. And that is part of the Florida edition to this year's festival. Such a relaxing beach vibe with the country music in the background. Very cool. With the beautiful Swan pool backdrop behind me, let's talk about the food from the beer garden. We got the cauliflower, which I will admit, I smelled it and I said, I don't know, that doesn't smell like something that I'm going to like. And I loved it. It was breaded very lightly and very lightly fried, but that sauce was the perfect Thai chili sauce. It was not too spicy, it was not too sweet. It was the perfect struck balance there in the middle of those two. We also stopped to grab the Todd English Blue Zoo fish taco. And guess who was at the booth? Todd English himself was hanging out there, Chef Todd English. Melissa tried the taco and she said it's probably the best fish taco she's ever had in her life. It had 2 different types of fish on it, including a really tender salmon, and it had chickpeas, which added a really textural contrast to the whole thing. And overall, it was super flaky, super flavorful. And like she said, one of the best she's ever had in her life. So kudos to Chef Todd English there. Let's talk a little bit about the wines being served here at this event. Taking my reusable glass around and tasting a few of the different options that they've had so far. I started off with a Cabernet from one of the California booths. I shouldn't say the California booth. There are several here, which is great because there are a lot of different options and a ton of different wineries represented. So I started off there. I really liked that one. I am a big fan of dry wines. So to me, that one had a really nice dry start, middle, and finish. Would have been great with any of the heavier meat options that I had here today. Then I tried a Sauvignon Blanc. That one was the lightest of the wines I have tried so far here tonight. Not a ton of body to it, but would be good with a seafood dish, or if you're not a huge wine fan and don't like that depth of flavor, that would be a good starter one for you to try. I also had a red blend that I enjoyed. Again, I'm a fan of a dry wine. So that one and the Pinot Noir that I am currently just got a pour of here, also very dry. This one's got like a lighter ruby-ish hue to it here, so it's not as heavy as the Cabernet or the red blend. In terms of the size pour, I think they give you a pretty decent one considering that this is a tasting. So if you want to finish every single bit of the tasting they give you, you can. But they also have these buckets with water where you can dump out a wine that maybe you didn't finish, or if you want to swish out your glass before you get your next one, you can rinse it out with some water so that you always have the perfect taste. We are here in the rosé room where they are serving fresh and bubbly rosé across the entirety of the room. There's a very popular live band over there in the corner. Great music vibes happening in here and a really fun space to hang out in during the event. While I continue to explore the Food and Wine Classic, tune in from a word from my friends over at WDW Magazine.
Subscribe to WDW Magazine and escape to Walt Disney World every single month. This large format glossy magazine is filled with content, not ads. Subscribe now and don't miss another month of magic.
The falafel was pretty tasty. If you're a falafel fan, you'll probably like this. It had a good flavor profile. It's definitely a heavy dish though, so if you're trying to get through all of the different dishes here, I don't know that eating the entirety of this one would have been a smart move. And we also tried a really interesting baked ricotta dish from Il Molino that Melissa put it best. She said it was almost like a cross between like a cheesecake in its texture and then in its flavor almost like a really cheesy lasagna. At the end, it did have a bit of a sweetness from the cheese itself to it, but it was a really interesting texture and really interesting flavor profile to that one that I ended up really enjoying.
J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. That's why it's called Dalola. Yeah, that's her nickname.
Oh,
So you're drinking with J-Lo.
Drinking with J-Lo. Fun little spritz station here, nice and sweet. Little Dalola, named after J-Lo. Spritz, very fun, nice and sweet drink. The Fisher House Orlando is an organization that helps house veterans of the United States military. They are partnered here tonight at the Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic and are a fundraising organization. Here is the Food and Wine Classic lively atmosphere. And right over here we have the boats pulling up that'll take guests over to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. So you're super close to the magic here, and this is a really unique and beautiful spot to have an event like this. Look at this evening. In our final round of food before we headed over to dessert, we grabbed a chicken BLT, which we kind of classified as being almost a perfect little lunch portion. The chicken was cooked well, the bacon was crispy, and had a side of macaroni salad. It was very approachable and a very, like I said, item would be almost perfect to just pack up and take for lunch the next day. And finally, we had what ended up being probably my favorite item of the evening, the pasta from Amare. It is a restaurant at the Swan Reserve, and they had a butter and garlic reduction that they cooked these thick, dense, you can tell they were house-made noodles in, and then they added on top a perfectly cooked clam and a tomato garlic sauce. The flavor profile with the garlic and the butter combined with the tomato sauce made for my favorite flavor combination of the evening, and those dense house-made noodles took it to the next level. Let's talk desserts. I want to start with mentioning that the S&W pastry stands for Swan and Dolphin. Like I mentioned earlier, everything here is not only conceptualized and thought of here and created that way in-house, but it's actually made here at the resort as well. So they created all of those here. The strawberry eclair was much sweeter than I was expecting it to be. It had a little bit of a crunch from the outside that I was just not expecting that made the textural contrast quite interesting there. But I don't know that it's possible for me to rave enough about the chocolate mousse cherry flambe. They actually set it on fire when I ordered it, so it was visually really appealing. Then after that, they put a scoop of vanilla ice cream on the side. That's speaking my language. Anything that you put vanilla ice cream on, I'm probably going to like. But the real cold creaminess of that mousse still stayed that way even after it was lit on fire. And I thought that the combination of the cold ice cream, the cold mousse, and the warmed chocolate that was kind of melted in the cherry around it created a really interesting flavor profile. And me and Melissa kept going back for bite after bite of that. That was one of our favorites. Really delicious item here tonight. That is going to do it for me here today at the 2023 Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic. Thank you so much for joining me on this culinary journey. I had a fantastic time. Really enjoyed tasting my way through the festival. So if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for plenty more content just like this coming your way. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next magical escape.